Welcome back to Design Foundations, where we go beyond the basics and delve into more specific design topics. In this installment, we'll be talking about the concept of less is more. Less is more is a minimalistic design principle that helps create an aesthetic that's not only beautiful but also practical. The idea is that you only include the essential elements your design needs to tell a story efficiently. We know this principle is important because it's easy to go overboard in a design and include more things than are necessary or not leave enough space for the content to breathe. To fully understand the minimalist design principle, let's look at 6 important factors to consider in minimalistic design. Those are going to be embracing white space, making the design understandable, prioritizing simplicity, considering the power of color, making it adaptable, and focusing on typography. White space is the area of a design with nothing in it, but it's not necessarily white in color. That's why it's also called empty space. In basic terms, the most common empty spaces are the margins and spacing in a design. Further on from that is the area between elements or there's nothing. The purpose of this white space is to bring attention to what really matters and to let the elements breathe. When elements are too close together, a design can feel cluttered and busy. When a design looks cluttered, it can be difficult to understand. You don't really want to confuse people with your design, and minimalism helps you make your design understandable at first glance. For example, when using brand elements in a design, just use enough to ensure that the brand is evident, but don't overload the canvas with decorative elements. Here's a visual comparison of a clutter design and then one with good use of white space. Notice how much nicer the second one is to look at. Prioritize simplicity by ensuring that your design elements are absolutely necessary and functional to what the content is conveying. Look for ways to bring attention to specific areas of the design without adding more elements. Try bolding the text instead of underlining it or adding a color behind certain words. Think of the flow and the hierarchy so that the viewer doesn't have to guess how to look at the design. Here's another visual comparison of a design that doesn't prioritize simplicity and then one that does. Which one do you think will function better? Color is another super powerful element in design, and it's also a great ally when designing minimally. For example, too many colors can make a design challenging to look at or understand easily. The ideal color palette for a less is more design has 1 strong color, 1 medium color, and 2 neutral tones to balance things out. If you have 2 or more strong colors, it'll be tough to keep a minimalistic feel. In this visual comparison, you can see how the use of color affects how your design aesthetic looks and feels for the viewer. Which one do you prefer? Another thing to consider is adaptability. You'll likely use one design on a number of platforms, or you'll need to use one base design to create others later on. Adaptability can be difficult to achieve when a design is too complex or full of elements, so make your design simple and flexible from the start and you'll see how much easier they are to repurpose. Finally, the last thing to consider when designing with less is more in mind is typography. The way you use fonts in your designs can greatly affect its functionality and its aesthetic. If your main font is super unique and highly visual, remember to use it sparingly and to pair it with a simple font for the rest of the text. Likewise, if you're using a classic font, don't pair it with another font that's too similar. Just use the same one in bold or in a different weight. Remember the rule of thumb for typography. Never use more than 2 or 3 fonts in the same project. Don't use more than 3 variants, even if using just one font type. In this comparison, you can see what I mean by how typography affects the way your design works for the viewer. Which one is more pleasing to your eye? Did you take notes? If you didn't, go back and rewatch to take those notes so you can have them close by every time you're designing something. These are essential tips to help you create well-balanced designs that are both simple and beautiful. In the next and final lesson, we'll look deeper at typography and how it can be used as a design element, not just for text. I bet your designs are already looking much better than they did before the course, so keep practicing and keep learning. All your content will look amazing. Get ready for the next lesson, the last one, and I will see you there.